Hello everyone. So we are in lesson 4 part 2. In the part 1 we just saw how to build a network using the PyTorch module. So now we will put this into practice. But before that I want to show you what are convolutional layers, so what are convolution and what are max pooling layer. So this video will be about explanation about convolution on a particular example, and at the end of this notebook you will have a small practicals to do in order to put everything together. So let's start. We will use MNIST dataset, which you can download directly. So MNIST, I guess most of you know what it is a dataset of images of digits. So they are of grayscale, size 28 by 28, and okay, I'm here translating everything in NumPy because it's easier to do visualization with Matplotlib. So you see that in total I have 60,000 images of size 28 by 28. So they are grayscale, meaning that for each pixel you have only one number, which is the level between 0 and 1, the level of gray. So here is the image number 5,000. So you see this is a 28 by 28 matrix, and I'm just plotting the level of gray. So it's black and white here. So this should be a 7. So this is a 7 like this. And if you want to have more images, you see that here you have the images. So again, each time it's a matrix of size 28 by 28, containing for each pixel the level of if you are black, white, or in between. And here you see that you have the label. So this is a 7, a 3, a 4, a 6, a 1. So what we will do here is try to do a binary classification. So I choose to do binary classification because it's easier to explain things when you have only two classes. So you will try to classify only two digits, namely the class of 8 and the class of 1. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing is I'm extracting the 8 and the 1. So you see that in MNIST you have in total a little bit less than 6,008 and a little bit more ones. Okay, and here are some examples. Actually, the 5 first example of 8, the 5 first example of 1. So you see, I mean, this is not a very hard task. So you should get pretty good results with any descent algorithm because 8 and 1 are quite different from each other. So let's start with a very simple baseline. What we will do is we will keep the first 1,000 digits of each set over there for the test set. All the remaining images I will take the average and see what it gives me. So this is the average. So this is again a 28 by 28 matrix, which is the average of all my weights in the training set. I do the same thing for the ones. Okay, this is an average of all my ones. So you see that you are keeping the main feature of what 8 is and what 1 is. Namely, a 1 is basically a vertical straight line, and this 8 has this general shape of 8. So now the idea is very simple. If you are giving me a new image, what I will do is I will compute the distance between this new image and these two representatives of 8 and 1. And if I'm closer to a 8, then my classifier will say, okay, this is a 8. If I'm closer to a 1, this is a 1. Now for the notion of distance, I will do something very easy. Namely, I will compare images pixel-wise and take the sum of the square. Oops. So here I'm computing with this this function. It's returning a 1 if I'm closest to 8 and a 0 otherwise. So I'm applying this function to all the 8 which are now in my test set. And the first number will be the number of 8 which are correctly predicted as a 8, and the number of 1 which are predicted as a 8. Here I'm doing the opposite. I'm computing the number of 8 which are predicted as a 1 and the number of 1 which are correctly predicted as a 1. So there is I mean, when you are doing classification, there are two things which are important. So I don't know why it's displaying this way on Colab. The display is much better on Jupyter Notebook. So this is taken from Wikipedia. Perhaps we can see it better here. So this is the notion of precision and recall explained on Wikipedia. So the precision is given by this formula. So this is just to tell you that in classification, most of the time people care about accuracy, which is a number of right prediction you are doing divided by the total population in your data set. But you might care about other quantity in order to evaluate the performance of your algorithm, namely precision, which is how many selected items are relevant. So this is all the true positive divided by the sum of the true positive and the false positive. Or the recall, which is how many relevant items are selected. So this is the number of true positive divided by the sum of all relevant items. So depending on your application, precision or recall might be more useful. So here I'm computing everything over there. So the precision, if your target is 8, is something like that. The recall is already quite high. And okay, to simplify, I will do like most people. I will concentrate on accuracy, which is the mean of the two recall in this case. So this is the number of right prediction divided by the size of my dataset. So this means that my baseline algorithm is doing a good job 94% of the time. Okay, so now our task will be, actually yours, will be to try to do better with convolution. So what is convolution? There is a very nice explanation done on this website. So here you see what an image is for your computer. This is a grayscale image, and so this is these are numbers corresponding for each pixel you see on the right. What is the value on the left in your matrix? So you see it's not scaled between 0 and 1, it's between 1 and 255. So here the white it's 255 and the black are very low value. There is no, well, okay, there is a very black one over there, for example. So now, what is a convolution? So this is pretty simple, and it's very well explained on this illustration. So you take a matrix, which is called a kernel. which is of size 3 by 3, so much lower than your original image. And now what you do, so these are the entry of your matrix. Okay, we will see how we choose the number is in this entry later. But now what convolution is doing, it's computing a new image, the one on the right over there, from the original image on the left. And how it's done, it's just by using your kernel and applying a dot product in order to compute the quantity on the right. So on the output image, you see there is one pixel, which is circled by a red square. And the value inside this red square is exactly the dot product of your kernel matrix times the dotted values which are on the input image on the left. So if you move your kernel, you obtain the value of the next pixel, and so on, like this. Okay? So you see that from your input image, by applying this filter iteratively, sliding the window on your input image, you obtain a new image on the right, which has exactly actually the same size. So now, how to choose kernels, so the coefficient in your small matrix. So you can have a look at, for example, Sobel operators. So there are people in signal processing working on how to do efficient kernel for a given task. So most of the time what you want to do in computer vision is, for example, highlighting the contour, like here. So here is one example where you are applying what is called a Sobel operator to this image, and you see that it highlights in white all the contours, the straight line of the image above. So let's try to do the same thing in NumPy. So let's define a 3 by 3 filter. So this is only a 3 by 3 matrix. And here I'm calling it top. So you see it's -1, -1, -1, 1, 1, 1, and 0, 0, 0. So what will this do? When I'm applying to an image, it will take in my image a submatrix of size 3 by 3 and do the dot product, the component pixel-wise, the product of -1 times the value in my top left corner of the image, and so on. So let's see how it works on a very simple example. So this, I'm creating a fake 28 by 28 image to see what top is doing on this. So you see that top basically erased the vertical white line of my cross over there, and it highlighted the top edges of my cross. So why is that? It's very simple, because I'm taking -1 times the black color, and then I'm taking +1 here. So when I'm right at the edge over there, I will get a very high value, resulting in this white color. And I will have the opposite for the bottom one. Okay? So if you want to know what correlate is doing, you can ask for the help here. So there is one thing that I did not specify is, you see that I'm obtaining a 28 by 28 image here, but how do I apply filter when I'm at the border of this image? So we can come back at the kernel here. You see that when I'm inside the image, it's completely well defined, but if I'm over there, then it's not completely clear how I'm computing this, because my kernel, you have this interrogation mark over there. You don't know how to compute this. So this is you need to specify how to what are the value of the question mark over there, and this is what is called padding. So here is a small illustration of what padding is doing. Namely, in the padding function, you are defining what are the values which you define outside your image in order to be able to compute the convolution and to get an image of the same size as your input. So here, this is your input image. Here, this is the result of the convolution, and you see how you obtain it by applying the filter and sliding it. And the padding tells you how you are computing the dot product of your filter with your image on pixels which are outside the original image. So if you want to change the padding, for example, constant, which means that I'm taking this pixel to be black by default, I am obtaining something a little bit different from the original padding here, because you see that now I'm highlighting also this white edge at the top of the cross. So here is what I'm obtaining when I'm applying my filter called top on my original 7 in MNIST. And you see that top is doing a pretty good job at highlighting the horizontal features in my 7. So over there and a little bit over there. Okay, so now that I understood how a filter is acting, what I will do is I will rotate this filter by 90 degrees to obtain this new one filter. And you see that okay, if you want to sorry, this is something else. Here I'm rotating it to explain you why it's called a convolution. You see that I'm using something which is called correlation. So if you want to use a convolution, you need to first rotate your original kernel and then apply it to the image. And you see that here I'm obtaining exactly the same thing as here. The only difference is I did rotate my kernel by 90 degrees and then I applied convolution instead of correlation. So now what I will do is I will build a set of filters. So this is sometimes called a bank of filters, because I want to identify different edges, different features in my image. So this filter is the original top one, and it will highlight horizontal lines, top horizontal line. This one will highlight bottom horizontal line. And of course, these two here will highlight vertical lines. Now, I'm doing the same thing on diagonals. So this diagonal, this one but on the top, this one on the bottom, this one on the top, and this one on the bottom. So now here is what I'm obtaining. If I'm applying my 8 filters, so remember the first filter is top, this one is for bottom, this one is vertical left, vertical right, then diagonal up, diagonal down, and these are the other diagonal over there. And you see that it's doing a good job on my cross. It's highlighting exactly the part of my image I wanted to highlight with my filters. So let's see how it works on my 7. So again, here I'm highlighting the top horizontal features of my 7, the bottom horizontal features of my 7, the vertical part over there, and then a little bit the diagonal. Perhaps here and here. It's not completely clear. So here what I did is I started from a representation of my image which was a matrix of size 28 by 28 by 8 different matrices of dimension 28 by 28. So now what I want to do is I want to reduce the dimension of all of these images. So the way I will do it is thanks to what is called a max pooling. So this is a very simple downsampling technique. And the way how it works is you cut each of your image in non-overlapping square of size 7 by 7. So here it's 28 by 28, so you will obtain 4 square here and 4 square here, so 4 by 4 square in total. And for each of these 7 by 7 square, what you do is you replace your 7 by 7 square by only 1 pixel, and the value of this pixel is the max value over your square. So let's see how it works. So this is exactly the same picture as this one, but downsampled with my max pooling of size 7 by 7. So you see that now I have low resolution, if you want, images of my 7, where I first apply my kernel and then the downsampling, so I'm obtaining now images of size 4 by 4 and 8 of them. So the idea now is to try to do the classification based on this representation of my image. So what I will do is the same thing as what we did in the baseline, but instead of working directly on the image pixel-wise, we will apply this operation to all my 8 in the training set and all my 1s in my training set in order to get a representative of my 8 on 1. So this is exactly what I'm doing here. For all the 8 in my training set, so I'm still keeping the first 1001 for the test set. I'm applying first my filters and then the pooling. So I'm obtaining, so this is the size of my training set, image of size 4 by 4, and I have 8 filters. So you see that if I'm looking at what is the output of my first filter, which was top on the pooling, on the first 5, 8 in my set, I'm obtaining this picture. Okay. Now, so this is only by looking at the first filter. Now I want to look at the 8 filters, and you obtain this for this first line corresponds to the representation of a 8, where I'm first applying top and then max pooling. Here I'm applying bottom and then max pooling. Here vertical and max pooling, vertical left, vertical right, and then the diagonal. So each line is a new representative of a 8. So if you believe this should work, each of these lines are corresponding to an 8, so you hope that they have common features. And you see that indeed they have a little bit at least. So for example, when you are each time highlighting a lot, probably the top part of the 8 at the top and also at the bottom over there, you have a little bit of diagonal over there and over there. So now I'm doing exactly the same thing as what we did before. I will compute a representative of my 8 by averaging, okay, all the results for filter 1 on max pooling, all the results for filter 2 on max pooling, and so on. So this is what I'm obtaining here. So this is the canonical 8, okay, represented in this new basis, if you want. So you see that you recover a little bit the main feature of the 8 that we saw before. So the top here is always highlighted, the bottom is highlighted here, so this is the bottom part of the 8. let's do the same thing for the ones now. So for each picture of a one in my training set, I'm applying my filters, doing downsampling with max pooling, and then averaging over my training set. And here you see, I mean, the signature, if you want, of a 1 compared to the signature of a 8 in my training set. And you see that the signature are indeed quite different, because for a 1 is essentially a vertical line. So the filters that are mostly activated here correspond to the vertical left and vertical right over there, which is not present in the 8. So now, again, one way to do the classification is, given a new image, you apply the same set of filters with max pooling, you obtain a representation of your digit, you compute the distance with respect to this representative 8 and this representative 1, and you choose the closest. So this is what I'm doing here. So this full core is computing everything. This is just to check that I'm doing things right. And this is my new classifier. So let's see if it's work. So I'm taking 8 and looking at the distance compared to my representative 8, which is 103, and this is the distance with respect to my representative 1, which is a bit bigger. So in this case, you see that I will do the right prediction because my new 8 is closer to my representative 8, so I will decide it is an 8. So now I'm doing the same thing as before. I'm doing this, applying this classifier to all the images which are in my test set, computing the precision and recall. And you see that if you care only about accuracy, you obtain something which is slightly better than the baseline. 96% accuracy compared to 94%. One nice thing you can observe here is that you are actually able to achieve better performance on a compressed version of your digit, because you are not comparing images of size 28 by 28. So vector, if you flatten this is a vector of size 784. Now each image is represented by 8 images of 4 by 4, which is a vector which is much smaller. So you are able to compress your images while keeping the relevant features in order to do classification. So here we saw what is the convolution happening the kernel, and what is the max pooling. So we see the downsampling. But we did build the kernel for the convolution by hand. So now your task will be to try to learn this kernel by using a very simple convolutional neural network. So this is the start of the practicals. And here is the main goal of these practicals. You need to define a convolutional neural network with filters or kernel of size 3 by 3. In order to be comparable with what we just did, you are allowed to use only 8 filters of size 3 by 3. Then you will apply max pooling layer to reduce the image of size 28 by 28 to an image of size 4 by 4. And then you will produce a vector of size 128. Okay, sorry, there is a mistake here. This should be a 4 by 4. And then you pass this through a standard classifier, what we did many times. So you will pass the output of your convolution plus max pooling through a linear layer where the input has size 128 and the output feature is 2. So then you apply a log softmax and use the right loss in order to learn the parameter both of this linear layer and the convolutional layer. So you need to figure out what this value is and to implement your classifier here by using the module, so what we just saw in the course. For this, you need to understand how convolutions are encoded in PyTorch. So you can have a look at convolutional layer here, and this is the documentation you need to read to understand how to use 8 different kernels of size 3 by 3. Pooling layer are here. So you have max pool 2D, which are here, which are a bit simpler to use. And once you are done with this, you just test it on a batch of 3 images. Then in this part, I'm building for you the dataset on the data loader, so you do not need to change anything over there because we didn't see data loader yet. And then the training is done here, where I'm using the data loader here to get the data. So this input on label, this input is an image 28 by 28, and this label is just the digit if it's a 0 or a 1 or 8. And it's a batch, so BS is a batch size, and then you have to put your code here in order to learn the parameter, define a loss function, an optimizer, do the training from tar and poc. Then on the training you will have a given accuracy, but as we saw last time, you should compute the accuracy on the test, so this is what you should do here, and in the end try to see if you can beat the 96% accuracy over there. Okay, good luck, and ask questions on the forum if something is unclear. Enjoy!